welcome to this session. This is about letting your SCOM alerts talk with ChatGPT. So this is a fun topic, I would say, because we have been talking about ChatGPT a few weeks ago in a session, in an introductory session together with Kazam. And now we want to expand that by looking at a very specific case study whereby our friends from GripMatix have combined the power of ChatGPT with SCOM. So just to introduce ourselves quickly, so for TopQore we have here Bob Cornelissen, myself, and Samir Maisekar. Samir does have a power issue currently where he is at, so he can't come on the camera because otherwise it will be on the phone. But he's here, and from GripMatix we have here our friends Merijn and Marc. So Merijn, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a product architect at GripMatix. I used to be a data center and cloud architect before GripMatix. Also did quite some SCOM management pack development in those days, which comes quite in handy at GripMatix. So yeah, that's me.
All right. Marc?
Yes, thank you, Bob. Hi, everyone. My name is Marc van der Veer. I'm a product manager at GripMatix. More than 15 years experience in IT and mainly focused on Citrix technology. So a lot of experience with everything that has to do with Citrix, virtual apps and desktops. So yeah, everything regarding Citrix monitoring, you can ask me.
All right. So this is also what we know GripMatix from, right? So that's the exceptionally good Citrix monitoring through SCOM, management packs provided by you and built by you guys. So, as I understand, there's more to come every time. So that's good news. So let's see what we have here. Right, so just to refer back a little bit to the previous webinar where we talked with Kazam about it, about ChatGPT, what it is, where it came from. So it is an AI-based chatbot created by OpenAI and maintained by OpenAI, and of course now used by many, I can say. So what you do is you can feed it any textual-based input, and then ChatGPT will respond with an answer. It can recognize questions, it can recognize comments, it can recognize human-like language, and also provide that feedback back. So it can summarize data, for example, or it can create a poem, and it can translate between different languages, etc., etc. So it's really good stuff. And well, we have seen so many applications of this happening in the last few years, whereby people have been using this a lot. But in the last few months, when the word came out about ChatGPT, we saw so many, like students also, for example, making use of it by creating complete pieces of their work in a few minutes. And yeah, it's very hard to see that they didn't write it themselves. And of
By
course,
the way, Bob, speaking of that, did you know apparently there's also a tool that can recognize?
Yeah.
You heard of that? I hadn't. So there's a tool that can recognize which text or which response was created by ChatGPT and not the human. Just quite interesting. I haven't given it a try myself, but it should be interesting to try out.
But now we have GPT-4. So it's a bit of a race against each other, I guess. So,
yeah. Also, keep in mind that it depends on how much text it will give back, right? So if it's just one sentence, you cannot see it. But if it's a long piece of text, then it can try to recognize it. Also, by the way, teachers are used to their students making a lot of mistakes in grammar and spelling and that kind of stuff. And well, ChatGPT knows the correct spelling, at least of every word, and should know the grammar rules. So, you know, if you see like no error whatsoever in long pieces of text, then yeah.
That looks suspicious, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
can
too
even
good is too
ask
suspicious.
ChatGPT to do that, right?
Yeah.
Play the role
yeah.
of a student, make some mistakes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what, maybe if we tell ChatGPT to write it in a way that a college student would, it might, you know, I don't know, it might be able to trick us
Yeah.
Let's
with
hope
some
so.
intentional typos and bad grammar, probably.
All right. So
Just one thing, Bob, can you go back? I just wanted to add something
yes,
to
I
the
probably can. Yes.
yeah, to the third bullet point there, can recognize questions, comments, and human-like language. It can also understand context, by the way, right? So if you keep talking with ChatGPT, if you've got a conversation or a dialogue going on, and at the end of it, you start replacing the nouns with, let's say, pronouns. And let's say I say in the first sentence, I say, Bob is my boss. And in the next sentence, I tell ChatGPT, he is a nice guy. So ChatGPT will understand who he is. So he means Bob, right? So
Yeah.
it can hold that conversation for a while actually. And at the end of it, you can have like, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me a summary of all the 100 messages that we, exchange with each other? ChatGPT can do it with all the context. So I personally think it is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's the fun part of it, right? So it can basically look back through its own conversation at that moment.
Which is not the case with the API, by the way, but more about that later.
Yeah. So that's some of the challenges, right? All right. So what we have seen so far is many products integrating with ChatGPT, right? So we also see many products integrating with AI in general, right? So we've seen, for example, in GitHub, the autopilot, so which helps you create scripts and those kind of things. We've seen now Office integrating with it as well. So we've seen many applications coming. I think it can greatly enhance a product's intelligence or help you create text or help you create understanding or help you create a script which is actually working, for example, which is always difficult for me as well. Creating a script is not the problem. Making it work the way I want to is the second part, right? That's always the fun part. But I think these things can help you forward. Also, enhance a product's operability, right? So moving things forward for your product, and we can use it to enhance your productivity and data visualization going forward.
Yeah.
So
and it can also, so a lot of software nowadays are using ChatGPT, especially for I won't say replacing, but to augment customer support. Because for the first line support, a lot of comments or questions are going straight to ChatGPT, and if it has an answer, straightforward answer, and it just returns it right from there, right? You don't have to, let's say, bother a human with a petty problem. So ChatGPT can solve a lot of basic, and I would even say, let's say, moderate, intermediate kind of level problems, but again, if they are not very specific to your organization, of course, now ChatGPT is not owned by your organization, so it doesn't necessarily always know what data is private or what data to show and what to hold back, let's say. So yes, it can give you a generic answer, not always the most appropriate for your organization, let's say, but yes, having a chatbot like that who understands context and understands human language is still a big win already, right?
Yeah, and you can fine-tune the model. A lot of people call it training. OpenAI wants to call it fine-tuning because they do the training. You can fine-tune the model that you use from OpenAI, and that way, yeah, you can improve the model for your specific application. So yeah, you will get less mistakes, wrong answers that way. That's the reason you can fine-tune models. Not with the latest models, by the way, but that will obviously come for the latest models as well. But yeah, that's an important feature, I think.
Yeah. Is this a good time to ask, or should I hold it back for later? Like how does this training actually work? How do you train ChatGPT? Because in my understanding, ChatGPT already has data fed to it by OpenAI. If I'm not, yeah. So how do you go about like training? When you say tuning or training, what do you mean? How do you do you tell ChatGPT to, yeah?
It's another endpoint. Yeah. Similar,
Okay, if you want to talk
a
about it
bit
later,
different, and then you can just prompt questions and answers the way you want it, and you can also say this is wrong and this is good. That's the way you train it. Yeah. You pay for it per token as well. It's a bit more expensive than the normal question and answer process, but it's possible. Yeah, but for the older models only.
So you're training it by giving examples like, okay, you got this correct, or this is wrong, or I want to see the answers back in a different way, and by that way it gets fine-tuned, right? It aligns better with your requirements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can, for example, make it like a bot for your website or for your product, whereby it will give you product-specific answers as well, because you have trained it with that with the right questions and answers basically already.
Okay. So when you say you train that model or tell it to tell the difference between what's right and wrong, where does that data get saved? Is it saved somewhere on your database, or is it, where does that go?
You prompt it to OpenAI just the way you prompt your questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I guess my question is, how does it remember what is wrong and what is right? Let's say 10 days from now.
Yeah, I know that. I don't remember that by heart. We don't do it, for sure. So we haven't included this in our product because it's only for the older models. Everybody wants ChatGPT and GPT-4, of course, but it's for older models. When it comes, we will deep dive into it, and I'll let you know for sure, Samir, how it works.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice. All right. So this is a story here. So SCOM alert storms, right? So we've seen a lot of time that SCOM generates a lot of alerts, sometimes all at once, and sometimes just a lot of alerts, which are sometimes actionable, sometimes not. Some are easy to understand, and also some are not. So that's one of the problems we are running into, obviously. So you have monitoring products which show you too little data, and you have stuff like this which sometimes sends you too much data. So what that means is that it requires extensive alert tuning going forward, right? So that you get your actionable alerts and you get rid of other alerts which you don't need or don't necessarily understand. So integrating with ChatGPT can help with identifying the cascading alert causes by correlating multiple alerts. So if we can correlate multiple alerts coming from, let's say, the same machine, then we can go for a root cause or ChatGPT can maybe figure out like, oh, I see something with a disk system, and I see something with a physical disk. Maybe these two are related to each other, and then move you forward. And also, this is meant to help you understand the alert description better and provide some consultation. So we've seen this also in the far past as well, that not every management pack has great descriptions for all of the alerts coming out, and possible causes and possible solutions. I just saw Cameron jump into the meeting earlier. So he's also created a solution years and years ago of selecting an alert and then going into the community, basically finding that alert and seeing if other people had the same thing and had something, some extra comments to say about it, for example, based on their best practices or on their past experiences. So that is something which was created a longer time ago, but I think this is another way and another point in time to rekindle these kind of things by using the ChatGPT in here.
And Bob, I think this is particularly helpful for SCOM admins because, as you know, a SCOM admin is not necessarily an SME in every other thing that they're monitoring, right? So SCOM, okay, as a SCOM guy, I know SCOM. I know how SCOM works. I know how agents work. I know how management packs work and so on. But I don't necessarily understand what this alert means or what it is alerting me on. What am I supposed to do, right? So when you get an alert, say, related to SQL or Active Directory, I don't necessarily know what to do with this alert. Should I close this? Is it good alert? Is it false positive maybe, or do we simply not care about this alert? So you can basically ask for some consultation from ChatGPT. Is like, hey, this is the alert I'm getting. What does this mean? Is this important? Should I care about this alert at all, right? Instead of going straight away running to the SMEs for an AD alert or a SQL alert or an Exchange alert for all that, right? So you can have some in-place consultation right from, let's say, SCOM in extension, right? ChatGPT, but yeah, SCOM can give you, with the help of ChatGPT, can give you some consultation right there. So you can make an informed decision or informed suggestion, let's say, to talk to your SMEs.
Yeah, and Samir, for instance, imagine you're working in a IT operations room, a control room. You're responsible for monitoring the alerts and make sure the critical incidents get solved immediately and addressed at least. Then this IT operations guy is now helped by ChatGPT to determine what to do, but also where to redirect, escalate the alert to, right? Much better. It will understand, okay, I have to have this and this team. And so he can better coordinate the process of solving this alert across the IT organization.
Yeah, and I just think this is a great way to learn. It helps you with learning. Yeah, just like if you just see like 10 different or 15, 20 different alerts from different technologies, and you consult ChatGPT is going to help you, let's say, understand in a way, probably with some examples or with some use cases or whatever it may be, right? So you read that text and for the next time, what, last time I had this alert, I read something about it, and now I know this alert much better than I would have otherwise. So it's just for learning also. I think it's a good, good tool.
Exactly, and it extends the product knowledge you already have, and we have good product knowledge for our management packs, we think, but even we think sometimes, okay, that's a nice recommendation. We hadn't thought about this, so
Yeah, it provides you basically dynamic product knowledge, right? With including the context of the alert. And I think maybe ChatGPT within the SCOM control room is like having another colleague that knows a lot, which you always can consult, like, hey, what does this mean? Oh, that has to do something with this, and it can give you guidance, and yeah, definitely will learn you something about how the stuff works that you are actually monitoring, right? Because you cannot be subject matter expert in everything, probably. But yeah, ChatGPT can assist you in that.
But then again, there is always someone that has to decide whether it's correct or not, whether it is the answer is accurate that you're getting from OpenAI. Yeah, that task is still there. But hey, we all know that guy that thinks he knows everything and talks a lot, and in the end, well, but still, then maybe even when he is inaccurate, you have a starting point, right?
Yeah. All right. This brings us actually to the next question. So, how did you guys identify this opportunity to start using ChatGPT with your product or with SCOM in general, or how did this come about?
Well, yeah. How can you not identify?
You were drinking.
Well,
I was scrolling through my LinkedIn feed.
No, it was yes, it was like we were just playing with ChatGPT on the web portal, just like any other IT guy, I guess. And we noticed it was really good in answering IT-related questions. So yeah, we knew it must have been trained on a lot of IT-related data, which makes sense, right? The internet is full of it, and yeah, but also we noticed that it is really great at providing concise, coherent summaries based on rather unorganized, unstructured content and data. And yeah, then the match was there. Of course, we immediately thought about SCOM, the alerts that are generated, the alert noise that you can get, all the different places where you have to go to get information, to get data. For example, the alert context, opening an health explorer or a performance view. So yeah, we thought, all this data, what if we bring it together, just dump it at ChatGPT? What do you think about it? So that's basically what our product does. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great idea. So we keep talking about ChatGPT, but so when I say ChatGPT, the thing that comes to my mind is chat.openai.com, and I'm sure a lot of other people are also thinking the same. But when we're saying ChatGPT, we don't always mean the chatbot, right? We actually mean, what's it called? Text GPT, I think. The actual learning, the language model that is behind it. So ChatGPT is only the humanized chatbot version of it, but the model itself.
So yeah, you have ChatGPT. That's basically the chat web portal, right? Whatever you want to call it, but that's where we all are using this chatbot, and that chatbot is using a OpenAI GPT model, and ChatGPT by default uses the GPT 3.5 Turbo model nowadays. No, sorry. By default, it did from the beginning, and now it's using GPT-4 for Plus subscribers. Plus subscribers, ChatGPT Plus subscribers can use this model. It's an option.
So a paid.
So there are models behind it, and the same models can be talked to with by using the API they have. Yeah, so, and we use the API, obviously.
Yeah.
And a major difference of the normal ChatGPT web portal compared to the API is that the web portal is stateful, so it remembers the conversations, but the API is not. It's stateless. So that's a pity, of course, because you can imagine how cool it will be that it will remember that a particular alert has been generated lots of times within the last hour. Or there's every time there's another alert about some I don't know, some backup or whatever, so it can correlate things that happened in the past better. But it's stateless, but nonetheless, we're thinking about this, how to make it happen anyway, that it's being remembered.
Right.
And maybe ChatGPT or OpenAI is going to facilitate this themselves, but otherwise there are other ways, obviously. Yeah.
So yeah, we had some questions also for you guys. So the first one is on the screen. What technical challenges did you face? Did you run into stuff where you needed to solve something?
Yeah, the alert history formatting is a pain. So it doesn't break down sentences really well, or it just breaks it within words and not even consistently. Well, we haven't found a pattern, but, so. Yeah, so that was a challenge, but we made it. Yeah, we made it open.
I also noticed something else, that normally if you look in the history tab, the history goes from the bottom up, and I see somehow you guys managed to turn it around so you actually can follow the story from top to bottom.
That was not such of a challenge, but for sure it has to be right.
Yeah, I mean that is certainly very helpful. Otherwise, it's very difficult to read.
Otherwise,
upwards.
It's not readable. It's you're right.
Very nice. So, how do you address the reliability of the output? Of course, you are giving no guarantees, I guess.
No. Like we mentioned before, you have to do that yourself. You have to verify whether it's accurate or not.
Mm-hmm.
But we think that reviewing is much easier and less time consuming than come up with a solution yourself, do the diagnose yourself, the root cause analysis, come up with possible fixes. So even when it's not accurate, it helps you a lot because you have a starting point already, right?
Right, because otherwise you would start Googling or Binging the question anyway, right? So, and
we think the major benefit of such an integration is that you are prompting a lot of data to ChatGPT, to OpenAI GPT, and not only the alert itself. So it can give you a coherent overview of what is happening for a particular alert and the computer that hosts the object that is generating all those alerts. Because you could just copy paste the alert name into ChatGPT, right? Along with some product knowledge, perhaps, to give it more context. But we think that the major benefit is that you get that the solution provides all the data it can find for that object and the computer that is hosting the object, and that way it can find correlations and have better context.
But we also saw that the output also really depends on how you questions are asked to the OpenAI API. It is basically the same when you're using the ChatGPT portal and typing in stuff. Depending on the input, it gives you a certain output. So I think the real magic is to prompt ChatGPT in a way that it is also able to provide the most reliable output.
Yeah, you have to be a prompt engineer, let's say.
Yeah,
that's one of the new job descriptions, I think, nowadays. If you're good at prompting, then you're good at getting these kind of data from it, from all of the AIs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good question. Cameron was asking to give feedback. Is there a way to give feedback using our solution? At the moment, we don't have that feature, but that would be great, obviously. Yeah, so stay tuned.
Merijn, just an extension of that question, I guess. So currently, the alert description, or currently the way your product works is when you say consult ChatGPT, it gives you an output, and that is a one-way street, let's say. So can I follow up on whatever output that ChatGPT has given me?
I didn't quite hear your question, Samir. You were cut off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what I was asking is, the product that you have right now in its current state is only a one-way street. It's a one-time response, right? Or can I? Is there a way, or is there something in your mind on the roadmap maybe that you can actually have a dialogue with ChatGPT from the SCOM console, like you can have on chat.openai.com, let's say? So can you have that back and forth, or are you planning?
I think everything is possible. We have nothing specific to share about such a feature, whether we are going to do that or not. But I was talking about the fine tuning before. That's also a way, right?
Right.
We could do something with that, perhaps. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Let's see. We had something else. Well, this is. I guess you have you have talked about some of this already. So the disclaimers. Of course, you cannot blindly follow whatever that the ChatGPT just throws at you, and start clicking and start deleting stuff in your environment just because ChatGPT told you to, or you thought that it told you to. That's one of them.
Exactly.
Mark?
And some common sense is required always, I think.
Oh boy.
Always.
Yes, it is. And also, speaking of the reliability and disclaimers, I guess also is, so this data that ChatGPT at least 3 was trained on was before what, 2021, I think? What was the year? Whatever,
Yeah.
right? So it is not always it's not the current data, let's say. So if the way of doing things has changed for a particular alert in between those two years now, I guess, so ChatGPT won't know. You will still get, let's say, quote unquote, old data, or let's say older data. So is that also the case for ChatGPT 4? So is that also trained up to 2021, or is it 23 now, or 22 and a half?
You mean GPT 4? Whether it has more a more recent data set? Okay. I actually don't know. Good question. I don't think so. It's more recent. I don't think so.
It's the same data, but the way of interpretation is different.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, I think it's the same data set, but no, it's not more recent, but yeah.
And also it doesn't do an impromptu ad hoc Bing search over the internet to see what the current state is of everything.
No. But what about the plugins Have you read about it? So ChatGPT or OpenAI GPT is now testing the development of plugins. They have developed some plugins themselves. They provide the SDK API, so to speak, for developers to test things out, to develop these plugins. And what these plugins do is they actually talk back to your plugin, to your APIs.
Mm.
So now we are talking to their API with these plugins. OpenAI GPT can talk to your APIs. So you can provide them some information. And there is now already a plugin they wrote, and that's a plugin that can go onto the internet browsing for answers.
Okay.
But you could also write a plugin, for instance, to some CMS you are having yourself with all kind of documentation and make use of it. So I think the possibilities are endless.
So I wanted to dive a little bit more specific into your solution. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the architecture of the integration which you created. You gave us this high-level overview.
Yeah, so left-hand side you have the SCOM console, connects with one of your SCOM management servers. Sorry. And then you have your notifications resource pool. By default, all your management servers are in it. And that's because the solution makes use of the notification subscription data sources that are already there in SCOM.
Right.
So that way it gets triggered, right? There is a alert I have to do something for. And yeah, when it has to do something, when it is triggered, it will request by means of HTTPS, secure channel, encrypted traffic to OpenAI API. It does the prompt and gets back the answer. Quite simple, actually.
It goes over the internet, so your management server needs to be connected to the internet.
That's true, and you can control what management servers by adding and removing management servers from this notification resource pool.
Right. Right. Okay.
So can you make a dedicated resource pool just for this?
This resource pool is being used.
It's a default one.
Always.
Yeah.
So you can't create a new resource pool with one management server in it.
No, at the moment, no. That's this resource pool, and the management service in it needs to have access to the internet. Yeah, you could use a proxy, obviously, things like that. But the traffic is encrypted by means of secure TLS. Authentication takes place based on OAuth. How do you pronounce that? OAuth?
OAuth.
Yeah.
Authentication.
Modern authentication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
And it's outbound traffic only, right? I mean, it talks outbound to the OpenAI API.
Okay.
So it's not like you need to open up ports to your management servers or something.
Okay. So I guess we have a slide for that, but is there a danger of your data leaking through the internet or going to OpenAI? Because
maybe we should wait for that slide to appear before we go into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I first wanted to have a look at the solution itself. So one of you is going to share screen. I think it's Mark.
Yeah, I will share my screen.
Oh, oops. Let's see some action.
So I hope you all can see my screen now.
Yes.
I'm sharing the screen of our SCOM console in our demo environment. And as you can see here, it is a SCOM console connected to a SCOM management group that has a lot of alerts active at this moment. So our solution work is you can pick up an alert. For example, I will use an example for an alert regarding a SQL database. So there is an alert mentioning something about database app 1, and it's mentioning something about the free space in the logging database. So if I'm a SCOM operator and I want to know, okay, what is actually going on here, I can right-click on the alert and choose this resolution state. And as you can see, the resolution state will change to GripMatix SCOM AI request consult. And what basically is going to happen now is that our integration will request information or prompt the GPT OpenAI API based on the alert description and its context. So it will take a little bit before the integration will pick it up. So as you can see, the resolution state has changed to processing. So that means it's now actually busy with prompting the OpenAI API. And we have to wait for a little bit before we have received an answer of the API.
Yeah. So you have GPT-4 enabled now, right, Mark?
Yes. Currently, I have GPT-4 enabled.
Yeah.
Maybe
GPT-4 is not generally available yet. As mentioned before, you have to have ChatGPT Plus and on a wait list first to get it, which we did. And it's rather slow. It's slower than the model behind the default ChatGPT that you all know already. But better answers.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
can you? Sorry, I just wanted to ask. Can you select multiple alerts and change resolution state?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
But
And you
then
could
again, that
even configure the management pack to have it request answers from OpenAI for every alert by default whenever it is generated.
Okay.
By default, it's semi-automatic, but you can configure it to be full automatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by default, you need to request consult for an individual alert.
Mhm.
And that also helps because every query against the OpenAI API will consume some credits, right, from your account. So you need to be aware of it, that every transaction you are triggering will consume some credits from your account. So that's why by default we have chosen not to submit every alert to the OpenAI API, but rather do that by doing it semi-automatic. But yeah, you can configure it as you want. So if you want to submit everything, then it is possible.
And we have some safeguarding built into it in case you have an alert storm. It will block the requests.
Okay.
Yeah. So in here within this specific rule, you can configure some overrides to specify which OpenAI model it needs to be used. So by default, you see that it is using the ChatGPT model, but by configuring in an override, in this environment, we have configured now that it is actually using the GPT-4 model to query the alerts. Furthermore, you can also configure the maximum request rate, as Merijn mentioned. So by default, it is limited to a maximum of 12 requests in a minute. But by adjusting this value, you can increase it or let it decrease. So there will be a limit on the amount of requests sent to the OpenAI API to prevent that it is consuming all your credits at once. And you can configure as well in what kind of language you want that the OpenAI API responds to your query. So by default, it's English, but you can also configure it to Dutch, for example.
Yeah.
So in that way, you can configure to your needs.
Yeah, and what kind of strain is it putting on, like memory-wise or resource-wise, on the servers?
Say again to me.
So resource-wise, how extensive or how heavy is this for the server?
Well, you can do multiple alerts at the same time. They are being processed sequentially. Do I say that correctly? Not at the same time, not in parallel. So in sequence, and yeah, it's just making use of the notification subscription data source. So that's the way SCOM does it, and has done it always for example, SMS text messages or email notifications. So yeah, and we noticed it works perfectly still.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so in the meanwhile, we can see that the resolution state of the alert has changed in received consult. So that means that we got an answer from the GPT integration. So if we open up the alert and navigate to history, then we can see that we got some response back by the GPT integration. And basically, it answers a few questions. And the first one is, why this alert and what does it mean? And this is the answer that ChatGPT has provided based on the data we have submitted, including the alert context. So it is explaining that there was this alert has been generated because of a free space in the database transaction log for the app1 database that runs on the instance SQL server located on sql01.gripmatix.com. It also gives you exact information about the free space that is still available, and it describes the possible impact of this issue. So it warns that it can lead to performance degradation, failed transactions, or even database unavailability. And it also suggests a option to resolve this specific issue. So it suggests to enable autogrowth or moving the log files to a drive with more space. And here you see that it answers the question about what are the possible root causes. So it gives you a few options. It can be because of inadequate file configuration settings, or insufficient space on the storage media, or lack of periodic regular backups, or the log file is not truncating, or maybe it has improper threshold settings for the monitor. That could be the reason that this monitor alert has been triggered. And what I particularly like is that in this section, it provides you with a health overview with all the alerts that are relevant to this specific object within SCOM. So in this scenario, multiple alerts were triggered for this database. So for example, it gives you an overview like, okay, this specific alert was triggered, the log-free space critical monitor. But there was also a alert being triggered mentioning something about that the database log backup was not performed for a while, as you can see here. And this is context that is coming actually from another alert, but it is related to the same object as this particular alert is related to. So it gives more meaning by providing more context to the specific alert. For example, it also noticed that the logical disk free space is low. And basically this specific alert is not coming from the SQL management pack, but it's actually coming from the Windows management pack. But it is related to the same object. So yeah, the integration grabs all the alert data that is related to the specific object to give you meaningful information and provide more guidance in how it can be solved.
So this correlation, this is not ChatGPT reaching back into SCOM and trying to figure out what's going on. You did feed it that data, right? So the relevant correlated data.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what's basically happening. So we provide a lot of context with the request. Mm-hmm. So it can provide you an answer that is context aware regarding the alert.
Yeah, and it provides you a coherent overview, at the least. And most of the time it also is trying to find root causes, right, for the alert generated. So yeah. And like I answered in the chat to Cameron, we also use answers we got back from a question as input for the next question. Because you have to know that there is a max token limit that you have to deal with. So we ask a question, we get an answer back. This answer we use as new context into the next question. Yeah. So this is not being used, this concept all over, but we do it for some questions. We will extend this mechanism for sure in the future.
All right.
Yeah. So if you're asking multiple questions, then Merijn, then this is how. Let's if there's a number, let me ask you this way: is there a number that how many credits does each consult require?
Yeah, it's called tokens. They're called tokens, and it varies per. It depends on the model you're using, and for the default ChatGPT model, so to speak, it's about 4K bytes for tokens. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Right.
Do I say that correctly? No, it's about 4,000 tokens. I have to say it correctly. Mm-hmm. I can look it up for you. And now for GPT-4, it's about 8,000 tokens. And the token is just a small word. Yeah. So it's, for instance, the word hello or bye, really small chunks of words. And parts of words are called tokens. What exactly a token is for what tokens are being created for a sentence, I don't know yet how this principle works, but it organizes a sentence into tokens, And yeah, you could compare one token with a word like hello or bye. Yeah, just 4 or 5, maybe 6 characters. That's a token. For ChatGPT model, you can use 4,000 tokens. For GPT-4, 8,000 or 32,000. It depends on the model you use and how much you want to pay for each token.
Okay. Let me start the screen share here again on this side for the slides. Let's see if it grabs back to the one we are looking for. Resume. All right. So just a short question. How will this help me as an admin? Mark?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mark, maybe you can answer this question.
Yeah. Well, it will help you to get a better understanding of the alert that is being triggered, right? Like we mentioned before, you could see this as an assistant in the control room to get clarification on the alerts that are being triggered and what would be the next step. How important is this alert that's being triggered? Should it be dispatched to one of the subject matters experts within your IT organization? So I think it is a great benefit for performing the first diagnose based on the alerts that is coming from your environment. And it helps you to prioritize alerts that are being triggered and point you in the right direction for resolution. I think that's the main benefit.
Okay, perfect.
It gives you an overview. You understand what is happening quicker, and that way you can how do I say this? Come up with solutions and solve alerts, IT issues quicker, especially because it will provide you possible fixes for you already. So yeah, you can see this as an extension to the product knowledge you are already having. And at the same time, that product knowledge is dynamic and focused on your specific scenario.
Yeah, it's a colleague helping you out, basically, right?
Right.
Question on security and privacy. I do know Merijn already said something about this. So this is actually also something which we ran into in with one of our demo environments, because it didn't run pure TLS 1.2, and you now integrated that also very well in your documentation for the solution. So yeah, if you want to implement this, by the way, yourself, then contact GripMatix on the website. You can find the product and the request form. But also when you get the download, then it will have also a document in it, the PDF, with the documentation on how to set this up.
Yeah,
which is very good.
What can I say? It's encrypted. The traffic is encrypted. Authentication is using OAuth, which is really a well-known, widely accepted way of authentication for APIs.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not in pure text going across a line. It's all encrypted. Data privacy.
Yeah, well, unlike you experience or are using or are how do I say this? Unlike ChatGPT use on the web portal, right? Not the API. The API has there's a policy, a data privacy policy for the API stating that they will not use the data for training purposes or whatsoever. So, but when you are using ChatGPT on your web browser, that data can be used for training purposes. So that's a huge difference. So you have to be aware of that. When you start using ChatGPT, you get all kinds of warnings notifying you that they will use that data or can use that data for training purposes. This is not the case for the API. They are not using the data for training purposes when you use the API, and we are using the API.
Yeah. At least not by default, right? You can opt in if you really want it, that they using your data, but by default, they will not use it for training purposes.
That's correct. Yeah. I can share the link.
Yeah, put the link in the chat. Looking forward towards the future, what are you expecting or hoping for in advancements in this story? So I know that your solution has the option to make an override to start using GPT-4 as soon as it releases in your environment for your for your account, basically. So that happened for the account that you guys are using yourself. I'm still on the waiting list, so I cannot use it. But you already made it ready to be used with multiple models, such as the GPT-4, right?
Yeah, that's true. You can also use DaVinci, a great model as well, and Curie, very quick. Yeah.
All right. And you're looking forward to the next step?
GPT-5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Who
know.
knows?
There's going to be a 6-month break, perhaps, probably, for AI to in its development. Maybe you've heard of it. A 6-month pause is being suggested by some people. I think Elon Musk was one of them, and because it's going rather quick, we all notice, right? So, personally, I think that's a good thing, but so I'm not sure when GPT-5 will be released. They wanted it to be released, I think, in 2024, late 24. But let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first GPT-4 needs to be fully operational and getting back into the speed, of course, right? So also the lower speed now is because of the resources assigned to it, right? There's a huge amount of compute power behind this.
Right. I think GPT-4 will be released in a couple of months. It will be G8 in a couple of months. GPT-5, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. What else do we have? So just looking ahead at some other purposes, other opportunities for integration. So this might be something interesting. So ways to use AI to stop alert storms coming from a particular site. That is one of the ideas that we've been discussing while we're just milling around, like what would it be good with. Performance forecasting is actually also something which has been requested for a long time, and I know that there have been some solutions for it, but it's not yet mainstream. It's also not built into the main product itself, which would have been good. I'm thinking this is for the future, a way of Microsoft. They could start using these kind of AI solutions to build models to also help with performance forecasting, or maybe the usage and admin recommendations based on data churn. So finding root cause as well, right? So, but then tapping into your SCOM itself and then finding a root cause there. Because now we are, of course, selecting ourselves which event we want to move into ChatGPT to get an answer about. But at some point, I know a lot of companies have been looking into, can we correlate all of the data, performance, incidents, events, from multiple monitoring tools, and then make one big, huge root cause analysis tool out of it and forecasting. And it's very, very difficult to build, as these companies have found out. These are very big projects in some places.
Yeah.
But I think maybe this is also an opportunity for later to use AI or modeling, machine learning to move forward in these kind of items. Cameron also mentioned the Azure Monitor, right? So that's to connect it with that.
Is that already coming though? I mean, after Microsoft acquired OpenAI, they said Azure will get AI, Azure services. So I think Azure Monitor might already be getting something like this.
I don't know. Yesterday I Googled and Bing AI'd whether there was a monitoring platform integrating with OpenAI to do what we do, and I couldn't find anything yet.
All right.
But but that doesn't mean everything, obviously. But, yeah.
True that. All right. Let's see. So concluding, we've seen a lot of work being done in the AI space for the last few years, and in the last year we have seen a lot of people jump onto the ChatGPT bandwagon, right? So some for creating some poetry, summarizing texts, students creating pieces of work that look like they spend a lot of time on it and having good grammar and spelling. But also we have seen more IT applications such as GitHub Autopilot, which helps you create scripts and code. And in fact, we are now seeing more and more autopilots appearing also for Microsoft Office and such as well. But staying with the ChatGPT theme and applying it to other products, today we have seen GripMatix taking the step to first take the text-based alerts and connecting ChatGPT, or in fact several of the text-based models behind OpenAI, and gathering answers from there. And in the meantime, also trying to correlate. So we are seeing more applications of AI coming in our future, connected to all kinds of processes. And I do think it's a good thing to see where we can use it to our advantage and not just seeing it as a threat. It gives opportunities to help us do our job, such as text generation, and to create things such as visuals, because you also got the DALL-E, for example, and others to generate visuals, such as pictures. And we can use it to connect the pieces of the puzzle, which are too difficult for humans to calculate within a short period of time. And I think we will see much more coming ahead. Which brings us to the Q&A. So we've seen questions coming through already. Let's see. Peter says it will be great for integration to a service desk system. If a site goes down due to a network outage, log one incident instead of multiple alerts. Yeah, that's the alert storm and one location story in that as well. Event correlation. Good point. Good point. All right. So, Merijn, maybe you can answer the question in the Q&A?
Yeah.
Or you can first read it.
4 prompts in total are being sent. That's correct. Several prompts. And we even use answers from previous questions to the next question.
Right. So that means you return that data as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Because it's stateless, right?
Right, yeah,
it
doesn't
know
remember
what it answered.
Yeah, so basically you are every time talking to the first time, right, to the API. So
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
provide a lot of context with it.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
So just out of curiosity, Merijn, is there a limit to how much data you can feed as an input? Like say if a description of a particular alert is very, very long.
Yeah, that's the token limit I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, so 4,000 tokens, which are short words for ChatGPT, the default model, and for ChatGPT 4, it's 8,000 or 32,000. Depends
Right,
on
okay.
which GPT-4 model you are using. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. So I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. I think we also a little bit over time, but it doesn't matter as long as we are having fun. So for those who have been in the session and we have registered, hopefully your names as well, we will be issuing some badges, some community badges later. Also, of course, to Merijn and Marc. They will also get a presenter badge as well. So that's a double badge for you guys.
Awesome.
Also, so the recording of this, when we press the finish button, let's say we will have a recording. We will put that one online, so you can either watch it for free. Simply, well, it's always going to be for free. But if you want to later get a badge for this, then go to our websites, to the TopQore website /webinars, and you will find this webinar, and you can register for it even afterwards. So then basically it's a form which enables us to send you a badge for attending, because otherwise we don't know your name and address. So that's basically the story. But there will be a direct link to the YouTube video as well for this, to the recording.
Yeah, I remember that we have a free edition as well for our solution, which works for every alert that is Windows computer related.
And critical.
And critical. You're right. Good point. Yeah.
The red ones.
Yeah.
I've tested if I could cheat it, but no, it refuses to do the warning.
Okay. Well, tell me if you find a leak or a bug that makes it work.
Yeah, but so for the full version, obviously, if you are a customer of GripMatix for the Citrix management packs, I think the story is then you can get the full version.
Yeah, the full edition is included in our products Metrics Insight for CVAT days and Metrics Insight for Netscaler. We are not providing a standard edition as a standalone version, but we may in the future. Yeah.
Of course, perfect. So that is just a little limitation of the free version, but I think the most important ones are the ones which are read anyway. But keep in mind that it's also Windows based, right? So that's the other part. All right.
Yeah. All right.
So
Thank you.
I see no other questions. So with that, we want to thank you very much for coming online and doing this webinar and explaining about how this works, why you built it, and how this is connected to the whole ChatGPT story. Thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thanks for having us,
guys.
Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Bye-bye.